to come to some type of conclusion and to give members of the public some idea of what we would do as an organization to handle what we saw as some problematic details within that incident. I spoke with Officer Martin in a pre-disciplinary hearing on Friday. Friday was the beginning of that hearing, and that hearing concluded earlier this morning. At the conclusion of that hearing, I decided upon a 10-day suspension without pay. Officer Martin was contrite. He's ready to get back to work. He is very sorry for what has transpired. However, I challenged him, and as I challenged many, and that was to get back into the neighborhood and to reestablish some of the relationships that we feel were damaged by what we saw on that video. It's very easy to say that, putting somebody back into an area where there was a problem, could in and of itself be a problem, but we ask that members of the community support him and support our efforts to reestablish whatever goodwill we lost in that interaction. We're a department that is very proud of the fact that we have tremendous community support. And with that pride comes a responsibility that we take very seriously. Quite frankly, Officer Martin felt that he let me down. And I feel that by coming in and understanding the charges that were set before him and accepting the punishment that he'd been given, that he did his part of what I'd ask him to do. The second part of what we'll ask is that he'll go through some training, but also go back into that community and to regain their trust. And we will give him that full support. I'll take a few questions.
Chief, what specifically happened in that video? What did you see in that video that led to this suspension? And can you talk about each of sort of the things that you looked at in that internal investigation?
We looked at the total response. We looked at the videos, obviously, the videos we received by way of Facebook. We looked at the Exxon body cam video. We looked at in-car video. We looked at responding officers video. We looked at the transportation video between the jail and between the location of occurrence. We listened to the tapes, the 911 tapes that came in prior to the offense happening. There's so many things that go into every investigation, and we really left no stone unturned. We want to reassure members of the public that, again, this is an isolated incident. This is something that, as an organization, we handled internally because we can be trusted to look at ourselves critically and make the corrections necessary that we need to make to ensure that officers provide the amount of service that's expected here in the city of Fort Worth. So, looking at everything that we looked at, we determined that there were violations. There were violations as I could go through every violation, but I'll give you a copy of that to take with you. The neglect of duty would be one violation. Discourtesy. We felt like there was some inappropriate contact that he had with two of the females. We're going to leave, again, when we look at critically at any incident, at any internal affairs investigation, we're doing so in a clear and unbiased manner. He is a police officer that works here in the city of Fort Worth. He is subject to making good decisions and bad decisions. In this instance, he made a few bad decisions, and those few bad decisions led to punishment. A 10-day suspension without pay is a significant punishment.
Chief, this punishment is your decision, obviously, but can you say what the chain of command recommendation was to you?
I can say that no, not all in the chain of command agree with recommendations, and that's typical. However, the buck stops here, and when the punishment comes down, that punishment comes through me. And 10 days was my decision, and 10 days is what I will adhere to here.
Chief, have you met with Jacqueline Craig, or will you? And how will you deal with any kind of reaction or pushback that you get from the community?
I have not met with Ms. Craig. However, I recently reached out to her attorney. We've had contact, and I have met with him and had conversations, and I'm hopeful that I do get an opportunity to meet with her. I think that she, as well as Officer Martin, will play a critical role in reestablishing a sense of true community in that neighborhood. And I'm hopeful that she'll be willing to work with our officer and make sure that we are providing the services that we need in that community.
Chief, what does that look like to you to try to reestablish that trust in the community? I think one thing that I've heard said frequently is, as much as it's said this is an isolated incident, people who feel that this officer went too far feel that by the department continuing to keep him on as an officer, that's sanctioning what he did, and so you kind of aren't separating those two things.
No, we can't look at it that way. The department keeping him on is not sanctioning bad behavior. People make mistakes, and we have levels of mistakes that every police officer makes on each and every call they respond to. Some things deserve punishment, other things do not. Some things deserve termination, and I have not hesitated since I've been here to terminate those who deserve termination. In this instance, this officer, again, like I reinforced in the very beginning, was very contrite, realized that his attitude was not proper, understood that there was a deficiency in the delivery of service that happened that day, and that some of the things that transpired did not need to happen. I can tell you this, there were actions that he took that were legal, and that's the reason why these actions and the totality of this will go to the grand jury and will be assessed by a separate set of eyes and ears and by peers in the community. I think we'll see and ensure that a fair and accurate description of everything that happened here is done in the public eye.
And the city and the police department do have programs in place, from the new PALS Athletic League to our late night coming up gang program to our community programs that are already there, and we will continue to refine those programs through our neighborhood services and through the police department to work on those. We'll probably just take one more question. Someone over here was asking.
Well, I was wondering, given the publicity that you mentioned before with the video and the possibility of this officer going back out into the street, are there any concerns there? Because as you mentioned, the buck stops with you as far as the way you interpreted the video, but there are many, many people out in Fort Worth who saw that video as well, who might have come to a different conclusion and meet this officer face to face.
The buck stops with the way that I look at the entire incident. I'm privy to not only the video that we saw on Facebook, the Axon video, dashboard video, reports that we get through dispatch. There's a lot more to every investigation than just what you see on Facebook. And, Facebook items can be edited to give you a long version, a short version. And I'm not saying that that's what happened here. All I will tell you is that, given the totality of the circumstances, I believe that this is a fair and
I guess what I'm saying is there a concern for the safety of this officer or the ability for him to do his job and be respected by the community?
I understood your question. There's not that concern. We have a very supportive community here in the city of Fort Worth, in every section of Fort Worth. We just recently discussed our NI results before City Council and talked about how supportive and willing people are to get behind the Fort Worth Police Department. That is something we stand by here. We understand that people in this community sometimes people are going to be displeased with us, but more than likely they'll be willing to work with us to ensure that we maintain a level of safety and security here in the city that people are used to. So I don't have that concern. The officer doesn't have that concern, and he's actually eager to get back out there and to repair the relationships.
And we ask our citizens to be aware that Officer Martin has gone through due diligence, the whole police department, on this investigation and will continue. So just like our citizens, he is serving his time for whatever that instance was, and our citizens can support that because they would want due process if they were in the same spot. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
Activists have asked repeatedly for that officer to be fired. They said they wouldn't stand for anything else. Have you had conversations with those people or the attorney yet to explain that decision?
Thanks, Lauren. We'll have to answer that at a separate time. The chief did say that we would make available the charge document that's involved in the internal affairs case. We will put that on our media portal. If anybody is not on our media portal, please come see me or one of our PIOs, and we'll make sure that we can get that to you. Thank you.